One of the most important, if not the most important things that you can do when investing in real estate is to create a business system. This is true whether it's a real estate investing business or any other kind of business. When you have a business system, you are setting yourself up to succeed. A system helps you to do the same things over and over and over again without making mistakes. A lot of times people that do the same things over and over again, it can be very easy to skip something or miss a step and cause some problems with your business system. So you want to have a system from the start to make sure that things move smoothly. These systems are called SOPs. That stands for Standard Operating Procedures. And this is just an example of one of the SOPs I have. This is my acquisition SOP. So whenever I am getting ready to search for a property, I'm always on Zillow, I'm always on Redfin, I'm always looking for a property to buy. And I love buying rental properties. I really love rehabbing them. I like being part of the community, helping the community, being able to provide housing for people. That's something I really enjoy doing. When I find a property that I'm interested in, this is where I start my acquisition SOP. This SOP takes me from inspecting the property to writing an offer and then either rejecting that property, thus making it not acquired, or going into closing and acquiring that property. And this flow chart works right along with the app that I use is called ClickUp. My next video is going to talk about how I put this flow chart into action in my ClickUp system. ClickUp is the app that I use to organize my business system. So the first step in my acquisition SOP is to inspect a property. When I find a property that I'm interested in, I contact my agent and she sets up a viewing. So I go out to that property, I take pictures, I take video, I inspect everything. I am not a home inspector. I only play one on the radio, but I know what things I'm looking for in a property, and I feel comfortable enough that I can do that on my own. Sometimes if I notice something that might be an issue, a structural question or something that's beyond my expertise, well then I may hire somebody to come out to take a look at that. I have a friend that's a structural engineer, and he's looked at my properties before and done some work for me. So if it looks like something that I kind of have a question on, I'll call someone that knows more than me about those particular things. Eventually, we're going to come to a decision. We're going to have to make a decision whether we want to purchase that property or reject it. So if it looks like it's too much work for what they're asking, or for whatever reason I just don't want that property, let's say I've inspected it and I didn't like the neighborhood, I didn't like, there's too many things I didn't like about the property, well, I'm going to make a decision here to move that property into the rejected status. In ClickUp, you have active statuses, done statuses, and closed statuses. When something's active, that means you're waiting on something. Something's still going on, you're waiting on something to be done. So while this property is in rejected status, it's still active. I'm still going to be waiting on something. And I'll expand on that a little bit more when I detail my acquisition SOP. Just a quick explanation. I keep that property in my rejected until that unit sells. Once the property is sold, if I don't buy it, then I'm going to want to know what that price was. That way I can kind of keep on track whether I'm doing a good job at coming up with my offers, or whether that's going to need work. Let's say, for example, there's a property that's listed for $25, and I've gone through that property and I don't want it. I don't want to do the work. But if I were to buy it, here's what I'd pay for it. So that might be, I might say 15 grand. I'm going to put that in there just so I remember in my SOP. I'm going to put that number in there. When that property does sell, I'll be able to see, well, what did somebody else pay? They paid less for that property, or if they paid more. Well, that gives me kind of an idea of where I should be at in the future and how I should make my offers. I keep that property in that status until it is sold. Then I move it over into my closed status, not acquired. Now it's gone, out of sight, out of mind. but the information is still there that I could look up and search for whenever I need it. Now let's instead say that that decision was to purchase this property. In this case, I would have to write an offer, and that's still in the same status of the inspection status. So I'm writing the offer, and then at that point there's going to be another decision made, either by the seller that they're going to accept that offer, or maybe they'll do a counter offer. I might counter again, back and forth sometimes. Eventually we may still not come to a decision. The price I'm willing to pay is not what they want. In that case, the decision is to go into rejected as before. And again, I keep that property in that rejected active status until it's sold. On the other hand, if they accept my offer or my counter offer, that's when the property moves into closing status. When a property moves in a closing status, well, several different things happen all of a sudden. There's several different SOPs that get started as an effect of being in closing. When a property goes into closing, that's going to automatically have to create an asset SOP. I have to create utility SOPs for that property. I have to do a rehab work order, and I have to start a turnover for a new tenant, a turnover SOP. All these are detailed in my business system. Closing hopefully takes a couple weeks. Sometimes it takes more depending on how quickly the title company works. Some of them are better than others, some are quicker than others, and it all depends on how busy they are and how fast the funds can get sent in. And there's lots of things to consider there, but it's usually about 2 to 3 weeks in closing. And then at that point, the properties have moved into the acquired status. This is now my rental property, and it is now cash flowing. That describes my entire acquisition SOP. I'm going to detail this a little bit more in an app that I just recently started using called ClickUp. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about why business systems are so important, especially with real estate investing, we'll take a look at this video here. This explains the details of why those systems are so important. And if you've gotten anything out of this video, please hit that like button and subscribe, and that way you'll continue to get notifications when these videos come out, and you won't miss my next one where I talk about my asset SOP. Again, this is Kevin with the Compulsive Investor Channel.